Welcome to TYT Sports. I'm Michael Schur, sitting in for Ben Mankiewicz today. But of course, somebody has to sit in for Ben Mankiewicz when it's time to talk about hockey. Ricky Strom and I are going to break down the realignment of the NHL, which, you know, is drastic, but it's also, when you look at it, not terribly drastic. It makes a lot of sense. It's just going to change things a little bit. It doesn't seem like it's as dramatic a change. Also, later in this segment, we're going to be looking at some of the great hockey masks of all time. Hockey masks, of course, a way to make a personal statement. First of all, they didn't always exist in the first place, and then the design of them started, you know, not too long ago when you look at the history of hockey. Ricky, this realignment, now they're going to break it up into 4 conferences. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think it's totally fine. They wanted to make travel easier for each team, which I totally understand. The one thing that I don't like about it, and we talked about this before the segment, was the only example I could give, because I am a huge Blackhawks fan, is if the Blackhawks were to play the Red Wings, let's say this year, to go to the Stanley Cup, that could never happen anymore, because each team, they would take the 4 top teams from each new division, Conference A, B, C, and D, which I'm sure we'll get.
They're going to get renamed. They won't be names, knowing the NHL, that are better than A, B, C, and D.
Right, of course.
But yeah, they'll get renamed.
So I feel like with those matchups going to the Stanley Cup, it makes it that much more intriguing of a matchup and makes it that much more heated, and will also get that much more attention, because in a way, the NHL is lacking marketability, I'd say, with a lot of their teams.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there are so many teams in the NHL. The whole issue of marketability is about the game itself. It's a game that they've tried to reinvent, they've tried to add things to. This realignment is not, I don't think, going to change the marketability of hockey. These great rivalries, first of all, the Blackhawks and Red Wings can still play in their conference final. They can move on afterwards to play teams and develop new rivalries. So
right, I'm just saying it would make it, I feel like it would get that much more attention if it were to go to the Stanley Cup instead of just going to the next round.
But in order to do that, though, you have to sacrifice what is now, you know, the great rivalries that will take place in season. Each team's going to play the other in their division 6 times. It's also going to create a home and home every season for every team. Mm-hmm. So if you live in Los Angeles, you'll at least get to see your beloved Blackhawks once a year, as opposed to not seeing them, you know.
Well, actually, twice a year if you think about it.
Well, yeah, with Anaheim. Yeah, no,
yeah.
Of course. But the truth is, they had changed that, where teams like the Blackhawks and teams like the Rangers and the East Coast teams were only coming every other year, and then the Kings would go the other way. So I think it does make sense for travel. I don't know who would be unhappy about this. When I was reading about it, I heard that there were some teams that were unhappy about it.
I can tell you which ones.
Well, tell me.
Okay, we're saying that it's all about travel.
Yeah.
The Lightning and the Panthers are in a conference with the Canadiens and the Senators.
Right.
That's kind of, wouldn't you say that that's a big travel day for those teams?
It's not a tremendously big. I mean, to go from Miami, to get on a plane in Miami and fly to Montreal is a 3-hour flight. It's a 2.5-hour to 3-hour flight. So I mean, it's not that big a flight. It's not much more than going to New York or Boston, which Montreal has, which right. You know these teams do. And I don't. That to me, it's and you change 0 time zones, which is the real issue. The time zone issue is what plagues teams.
Which was the major.
Which is a major part of it. And also, as we mentioned, the Southeast Division that had Winnipeg in it doesn't have that anymore. And granted, that was a fluky thing because Winnipeg restarted this year. Mm-hmm. But I think it makes geographical sense. It makes time zone sense. You know, now they have to find a way to build more rinks, because they're not going to get people to like hockey until they build rinks in cities. It's not about moving teams there and just getting people to like it right away. They have to make the game playable. The NHL, instead of putting a team in Atlanta, should have built 30 rinks in the Atlanta area and gotten kids playing it. So you invest in 8 to 10 years, and then people will want a team because everybody's playing it there. But basically, it's a realignment that makes geographical and time zone sense. It is good for the NHL. It preserves the rivalries. And as Ricky was saying earlier in this piece, the rivalries are what fuels the NFL and the NHL anyway, because they need that. I mean, they need these rivalries, even for the casual fan, but mostly for the intense fan. The people who love hockey still love it for the rivalries. And all those major rivalries, the intra Pennsylvania rivalries are there, the intra-New York rivalries are there, the intra-California rivalries are there, the Midwest, everything's maintained the way it should have been maintained.
One rivalry that I am really going to like watching is Dallas against Minnesota, because obviously Minnesota was the North Stars,
right?
And the Dallas Stars. I think that'll be pretty cool too.
Now that you're onto that, the fact that the Minnesota North Stars moved to Dallas and did not make their name the Dallas Lone Stars was one of the most ridiculous things of all time. I mean, they moved to Texas. They had North Stars. They could have become Lone Stars. They just dropped it for Stars. Silly.
So are you in favor of it in the end?
Yes, I'm in favor in the end, unless they come up with ridiculous names, unless they make these division names stupid.
Like the Big Ten with the legends and the leaders?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And the NHL is famous for doing that because they make their game less accessible. There was a time when there was the Patrick, the Smythe v. Adams. They were divisions named after the great founders of the National Hockey League, but nobody knew any of those people. The NHL has always been terrible at marketing itself. And here they have an opportunity to not market, but to not do something dumb.